Hey, how's everybody doing? John Paul Trades here. Happy Memorial Day weekend to all the veterans and troops out there fighting for us. Guys, yesterday, Saturday, May 27th, the U.S. government has finally reached an agreement between Democrats and Republicans. President Joe Biden spoke to Speaker Kevin McCarthy yesterday, and they finally had an agreement. That agreement was to raise the debt ceiling. Although it was an agreement, it still has to get voted and approved in Congress. So we will be waiting for the next couple days to see if it gets approved. That being said, the markets have been reacting positively to an agreement in the air, although I don't expect markets to continue to rally up. Let's take a look at the charts real quick, guys, so you guys can see what I'm talking about. This is gold, for instance. I trade gold. We've been on a bearish run these past couple weeks, as you guys can see. We've only been on a bearish run. We are expecting a bounce off this trend line. Let's take a look at DXY, which is a US dollar. We have only been on a bullish run, and like I said, guys, I don't expect us to continue this bullish run much further, but it is a market. We're not here to predict the markets. We're here to prepare for the market, or so we can analyze better. This is Nasdaq as well, guys. As you guys can see, markets have only been going up, so we could expect some type of retracement, or even worse than a retracement. But it is very important that we finally have an agreement. Just because if the U.S. were to default on these on this debt that we have, I believe it's about $31 trillion debt, and that means by defaulting we fail to pay debt that we owe to bondholders and other nations. And we have never really been. We have always valued the fact that we can pay our debts, but it's only been getting worse, and nations will definitely not be taking us seriously, and other people who are holding our debt won't take us serious as well, and will make us look weak as a nation, all as one. So it is kind of scary to see the the government default on these loans, just because based off different sources that I've been reading, we markets could crash 45%, and bonds could also potentially crash a high amount. So the fact, like I said, that we have this agreement, we don't have to go the default option anymore, and we can just raise the debt ceiling a little bit more. Although the debt ceiling will be raised, here, let's take a look at this article given by the New York Times that I have been looking into. It is pretty important. If you guys want to search up what I searched up, just White House and GOP strike deal, and you click on the first one, the New York Times. So here, as you guys can see, President Biden and Speaker Kevin McCarthy on Saturday reached an agreement in principle to the debt ceiling for 2 years, while cutting and capping some government spending over the same period. So all it's saying, it made yes, they made an agreement, but it will be limiting the spending that will be going on, and they will be capping them on certain areas where they cannot spend anymore and can spend more. Congressional passage of the plan before June 5th, when the Treasury is projected to exhaust its ability to pay its obligations, is not assured, particularly in the House, which plans to consider it on Wednesday. Republicans hold a narrow majority in the chamber, and right-wing lawmakers who had demanded significantly larger budgets cuts in exchange for lifting the borrow limit were already in revolt. They're just also basically saying they can't keep raising this debt ceiling. I believe in Trump's administration, they raised it about 3 times, and now in this new Biden administration, it's been raised over 90 times, or about 90 times. So it's pretty scary, you know. That being said, but the compromise, which would effectively freeze federal spending that had been on track to grow, had the blessing of both the Democratic president and the Republican speaker, raising hopes that it could break the fiscal stalemate that has gripped Washington and the nation for weeks, threatening an economic crisis. Like I said, guys, due to, according to different reports, 45% market crash if we were to default on these payments. That is worse than 2011 crisis, and we are actually near that, um, all because of this debt ceiling and many other economic factors as well. So it is an important step forward that reduces spending while protecting critical programs for working people and growing the economy for everyone. Mr. Biden said, and the agreement protects my and congressional Democrats' key priorities and legislative accomplishments. The agreement represents a compromise, which means not everyone gets what they want. That being said, I do believe Republicans and Democrats are constantly fighting and see who's winning and who's right. But raising the debt ceiling does seem like it's the only best option for this economy at the moment. You know, there's just no other solution to this. We can't just keep printing. We can't just, all of a sudden mine a coin that's worth $1 trillion. Like there have been talks about minting $1 trillion coin, platinum coin. Um, that's just one solution they had, but raising the debt ceiling is about, I believe, the best solution, and so for the nation as well. Um, we still have more work to do tonight to finish all the writing of it. The plan was structured with the aim of enticing votes from both parties, though it has drawn the ire not only for conservative Republicans but also Democrats furious at being asked to vote for cuts they oppose with the threat of default looming. So, what is the debt ceiling? For those that don't know, the debt ceiling, also called the debt limit, is a cap on the total amount of money that the federal government is authorized to borrow via U.S. Treasury securities, such as bills and saving bonds, to fulfill this its financial obligations. And bonds, guys, are those are some of the safest investments that one can make. I've done a couple myself, and they're really safe. Um, Very low risk, and for the government to default on these types of bonds, it's pretty scary. Like I had said earlier in the video, not a lot of nations will take us serious. um, that being said, the way these treasury bonds work, they're auctioned out for 10-year periods, right? And they're sort of like premiums. You pretty much every year you'll get $30 depending on the interest, how much interest is paying. It can vary somewhere 1 to 3%, or sometimes even higher risk bonds like up to 10%. So on a 3%, you're getting $30 a year for 10. It'll be worth about 1,600, 1,800 bucks. It's depending on auction what gives it the most money. I'm sorry, not 1,800, 1,300 bucks. So in a course of 10 years. But like I said, they're government backed. They're one of the safest investments one can make. So what's most likely going to happen is they'll be receiving any bonds coming back to the U.S. Treasury will be auctioned again, and people will be probably able to buy these bonds at a higher premium with higher rates. Um, that was like another solution that Congress has to try to avoid raising the debt ceiling to try to get, you know, um, to try to get us to pay back that debt. Still, it gives Republicans the ability to say that they succeed in reducing some federal spending, which honestly I think it's a win for both parties. Although maybe Republicans have been pushing for this more lately, I do believe it's a win for both parties because if we were to default on this if we were to default on this, can you imagine the markets crashing, and then everybody's just gonna blame the Democrats for market crash, probably worse than the 2011 crisis. The deal would suspend the borrowing limit, which is currently $31.4 trillion for 2 years, enough to get past the next presidential election. According to a person familiar with the agreement, it also would impose new work requirements for some recipients of government aid, including food stamps and the temporary assistance for needy families programs. So, like I had said earlier as well, there will be some capping on spending on certain areas. So it may favor Democrats, it may not favor Democrats, and other areas where it could favor the Republicans, and it maybe does not favor Republicans as well. Because we all know Republicans and Democrats like to spend money in certain things um, when it comes to opposing a new bill or maybe when they're trying to get you to elect for them, whether it's by improving communities, black communities, maybe Hispanic communities, or helping the police force, maybe it's spending in the war. Those are all examples of government spending. Um, White House and congressional negotiations working around the clock at the Capitol and the White House and virtually pushed the resolution nearly to the last minute, increasing pressure on lawmakers to accept a solution unpopular with activists on both the right and left. Economists and Wall Street analysts warned that a default would be devastating and potentially lead to a global economic meltdown, which is scary. Hearing this, to avert a default, the House and the Senate must pass a deal and send it to Mr. Biden for his signature. That promised to be a heavy lift for both Mr. McCarthy and Representative Hakeem Jeffries of New York, the Democratic leader. Mr. McCarthy has reportedly said he believes a majority of his conference would vote for the deal, but it's not clearly yet how many Republicans will back the compromise and how many Democrats might be needed to vote for it to make up for GOP defections. So let's see. June 5th is when they have until to make a decision on this. That being said, guys, like I said, although the markets have been reacting bullish in these past couple days, it will be something to keep an eye out for. Let's be prepared. Let's not predict the markets. Let's be prepared so we can make better technical decisions when entering our positions. For any swing traders, guys, be careful with make sure you're going with the trend and making sure that you're in cash position, guys. In these times like this, cash is an important position that many people forget about, and let's be prepared for a nice position that we can enter on. And we don't want to blow your accounts. You want to preserve your capital, protect your profits. So let's make sure that you have great setups, multiple confluences in your favor, so that we can win our trades. That being said, I hope everybody has a great Memorial Day weekend. Tomorrow I won't be trading because it is Memorial Day. I will be keeping an eye out on other sessions, other pairs around the world. Um, but I will be posting another video on this, guy, so stay tuned. Make sure you guys give a like and subscribe on this video. Comment down if you like this type of fundamental news, so I can give out more of this and other ideas that you guys may want to see on this channel. It is somewhat of a new channel. I am aiming to post constantly here weekly, so and also turn post notifications on so you guys can be alerted when a new video drops as well. Peace out, guys. Have a great evening.